Towards the end of the previous video, I asked you to create a list of questions that you can ask your employees before you delegate a task to them. And in this video, we're going to compare your list with mine. And while I was creating this list, I was thinking about questions that are generic enough so that you can slightly tweak them and then adapt it to your specific situation. So the first thing that we want to ask our employee is, how will you define success? How does a great PowerPoint presentation for senior leaders look like? And then ask plenty of follow-up questions to understand how they think and align it with the way you think. The second question that you should be asking to your employee is, what steps will you take to complete this task? So for example, I could have asked Florence, do you have the corporate font? Do you have the corporate colors? Do you know what visuals you're going to make? Do you have access to the right data? Do you know how to create pie charts from that data? What you want to do next is think about the worst case scenario. So what is the worst thing that could happen? And here I could, for example, help Florence and say, what if they challenge you? What if they say, it's impossible. I'm sure I have better results than that. Well, how would this happen? Typically, it is when the results are low, then they are going to challenge you. So when they challenge you, you need to be prepared. How are you going to prepare yourself so that you are able to answer those challenging questions? Again, pause this video and think back to the situation you were thinking about. How would these questions help to establish a common understanding of what perfect looks like as a result of this task? I can imagine what you're thinking right now. What a waste of time. Now, to challenge this, actually, let's say that you do things as we normally do, which is we just give quick instructions because we're too busy, we don't have the time. What's going to happen next is they are going to complete the activity. And then what's going to happen? If you're not happy with the result, which is quite likely because you are not aligning on the final results vision, so you're not happy, and then you're going to criticize. And I use the word criticize, not give feedback, because this will just be painful critique for them. And then what's going to happen next? Usually you go, forget it, I'm just going to do it myself. And then doing it yourself naturally takes longer because you need to correct mistakes as opposed to just start fresh and make it right the first time round. So if it sounds like a waste of time, let's have a look at the alternative. Actually, if you invest time in great feed forward, then they complete the task. The result is much better because it's aligned with the vision you had. And then the final step is feedback. And it takes almost no time because the only thing that you're doing is you're comparing what you've established as the best scenario with what they've produced. So let's compare the two, shall we? If we do things the old-fashioned way, so we don't waste time on feed forward and we just give instructions, it will take 80 minutes because you're going to lose plenty of time once they complete the task. If we, on the other hand, invest time in feed forward, then things are just going to take 40 minutes. And of course, these are just example timings. It all depends on the type of task that you delegate to your people. But I hope you can see that you can save 50% of time if you do really good feed forward. And it doesn't end there. Bonus. You also teach them how to think for themselves. So whenever you're asking these coaching questions, you are putting some light bulbs in their head. And next time round, when they receive a task, they're able to recreate this process, and you will need to use less and less time on feed forward because they learn to think as you want them to. With that, we've completed the first part in this series of videos, feed forward. And I hope you will continue to the next part, feedback.